What is good, peeps? Welcome to an Indefatigable Artist. Episode 33, Uniquely Obliged. Welcome to the Indefatigable Artist Podcast. I am your host, Bleace. Just wake and be. Not be happy, not be this or that. Just be. Wake and be. Take life one step at a time. You woke up today. With that simple act, you are already more resilient than the day before, if you choose to see it. You woke up today. It's up to you to figure out why. Friendly reminder that listeners can go further at Bleace.com, sign up to our free newsletter, and receive a special code. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to today's episode. There is nothing more precious than your time, and I'm eternally grateful you choose to spend it listening to this podcast. I hope it motivates you to create and to express yourself more. Say what you have to say while you have the ability to say it. Episode 33. The same age as me. And who would have thought I would have made it this far? Not me. And that goes for the podcast and life. Taken many steps to get here, and we'll hopefully have many steps ahead. But those are not for certain. So I have to talk now before the curtain. Each day brings with it a massive amount of energy that's hard to fully comprehend, especially from every angle. Over time, we gain insight. Sometimes it can be in a dream where we rerun the scenario, or at least our subconscious mind does. I've had this happen several times where it's gotten me to see others differently, to forgive them, to see myself differently, and to forgive myself, my other self, that false sense of self in the past. We aim to be perfect, but what does that mean? It's a subjective definition, a culturally defined word that is different everywhere you wander. On episode 33, I think about what is the perfect podcast episode? What is the perfect episode for this podcast? And I admit there are some that are like, what the fuck is that? Where am I even going with that episode? It seems completely random, and it's because I'm writing in poems and I am just going free flowing as I'm writing. These are meant to be momentary glimpses, and not all of them are meant to exactly make sense, because life doesn't make sense at certain times. It's more to be relatable for a certain feeling, and to try to be vulnerable in these episodes. And I said it last episode that these are as much for others to gain insight as much as myself to gain insight. It's to document this journey that I've been on, to hopefully help others. Title of this episode is Uniquely Obliged. I feel like there's an obligation pulling me. We aim to be perfect. What does that mean? It's a subjective definition. There are ones that are what the fuck, but then there are the ones that when I get done recording and I feel I was fully committed to that episode, completely entranced in it. So perfection in that perspective would be others feeling that same way after listening to that episode. And at age 33, I think about what the perfect day is, the perfect life. Different definition than when I was 23. I, I've come to realize that what I wanted was programmed into me. My mind, like a computer, and all that I've been taught or told was installed like software into it. Why do I want these things? These material possessions that I can't take with me to my grave. These material possessions that will lose all meaning once I cease existing. Say I own all of the things that were on my dream board when I made it back then, the cars, the private jets, the mansions. I thought about none of those laying in that hospital bed alone. If those were my last moments atop that staircase, what would I have left behind? How long until I would have been forgotten? And that last part comes from the ego. Did I put enough progressive, positive energy out there? If I left, what would there be? Oh, he worked hard for these cars and houses that we get to sell and have common denominations that almost every human in the world has. On that hospital bed, I asked, what is uniquely me? What is uniquely Bleace? I can speak, but it's hard for me to teach. Again, I have this obligation to share what I've learned. Where I struggle with teaching is patience. I would rather just be able to share than to have to like test others and make sure it's understood and answering questions that they have. I get claustrophobic when peppered with a bunch of questions. Um, in this light, saying that, I have a deep appreciation for teachers. They are modern day superheroes who are severely underappreciated and under direct attack, both financially and literally. They are on the front lines in many ways. Funding gets cut. They're responsible for educating the next generation of workers who are falling behind globally in literacy, mathematics, science. And these teachers are also on the front lines in school shootings. They too have to go through gun shooter drills. And the drills are just as traumatizing. I mean, they're not just as traumatized, but they're traumatizing enough, let alone to go through an actual school shooting, which are becoming more and more prevalent. And many think arming teachers is the solution. They think the gun violence problem will be solved by introducing more guns. I get it. It's easy to just point to a problem and say, hey, look, this is a problem. What am I going to do about it? What am I as an individual going to do about it? Which then brings me back to the obligation I feel. Looking back at those who have inspired me in my life, how many were teachers? How many times as an adult do I think back on the teachers who positively impacted my life? These can be literal teachers or just life teachers. I certainly would not be here recording episode 33 of the Indefatigable Artist Podcast at the age of 33 if it weren't for these said teachers. Where I see Bleace in this issue is raising emotional intelligence. Out of all the test scores these students have, what is their emotional intelligence score? Where do they rank on that? They go from test to test to test, have to score high on this test to get to this school, have to score on high on the ACT, on the SAT, score high, test, constantly testing them. Then life tests them outside the prison school walls. We sit this universal ball of energy behind a wooden desk. And if they so much as flinch or misbehave, we pump them full of drugs, make them focus because they need to focus on these tests. On these tests, they have to focus on the test. Then you introduce hormones. They start rushing through their veins at rapid rates. All this pent up energy. And they have to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day with a 30-minute lunch break where they get to eat a bunch of sugar-induced foods and come back inside, forced to test. The pressure these high school kids are under is immense, and it's only gotten worse. And adults have the audacity to say they had it harder when they were growing up. Yeah, when you were bullied in school, at least it was held to just being at school. Now, this hazing can continue all day nonstop via social media. It's alarming the rate of self-harm and suicide occurring within the youth in the self-proclaimed best country in the world. And when the youth cry out for help, we yell at them to shut up, study for their next test. You don't even know how easy you have it. Just wait until you grow up. Yada, yada, yada bullshit. It's dismissive. It's incessant bullshit. When I see a school shooter, I see a cry for help. I see a product of the environment. It's not an outlier. It's part of the ecosystem, the same ecosystem that we all live in. The same ecosystem that has continued to be polluted more and more by toxic negative emotions. We used to just punch holes in the walls or get into fistfights, but if weapons are readily available, then that becomes the go-to. And then it gets portrayed on television because the motive of the news is to get paid for attention. The more eyes they can get, the more they can charge advertisers in between segments. They do not have the viewer's best interest. They have their own self-interest, monetary value for advertising. And I think it's vital to point that out because of this fixation on these school shootings. Why does that footage need to get played over and over again, talked about for hours, showing those pictures of the gun, inspires others to do the same so they too can get their 15 minutes of fame. And then you start to see them use the same guns, give hints as to who inspired them with their stickers on the gun, in their Reddit manifestos or whatever they leave behind, whatever they write, their last letter. And just as, commercial-based news outlets are monetarily inspired so too are the politicians, as they are motivated by self interest, as they can raise money off each incident. Both sides raise money. One side raises money to ensure that gun laws won't change. Gun sales skyrocket. The other side raises money saying they will do something. We have to stop them. We have to make a change. We are the only ones that will do it. Yet they won't. They'll sit on their hands even if they have the majority. Episode 33, age 33, and the US national debt is almost 33 trillion. That is trillion with a T. $1 trillion in debt. And by the time this publishes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever, it may be at 33 trillion in debt as of right now. As of right now, we're almost at 33 trillion. We can't even fathom how large of a number that is. There isn't a single person on this planet who can answer the question, how do we recover from it? We just keep passing laws, raising the debt ceiling to make it legal to borrow more money. Think of how crazy that is. Politicians have to pass laws allowing the government to borrow more money. What allows them to do this? Their monopoly on violence. Violence towards the populace. Their willingness to nuke the ever-living fuck out of any and all countries if need be, in the blink of an eye. We have one human with the codes in his pocket, and for 48 hours, not a single other person on this planet can stop them. Again, legally speaking. This is the environment children are growing up in, a militarized industrial complex. And the more in debt the country gets, the more violent it gets. Gets more desperate, starts locking up more of its people. And America already has by far the highest incarceration rate in the world. By far, it's not even close. The percentage of the total population that live behind bars. Yet we are building more and more prisons for profit and less colleges. Mental health help is almost non-existent. Most don't even think of it. How's your mental state? How many of the youth gets asked that on a daily basis? We have normalized ruthlessness. It's just the way it is. And I agree that the universe is ruthless. No sympathy to be found. Same for life here. It's tough to survive on this planet. Yet, how much of that toughness is self-imposed? We make it tougher on certain individuals purposefully when it could be easier for them. Can we see life on this planet be easier for the majority of people instead of just the minority? We program the youth to be like a rat hitting that heroin button, guiding them through the maze so they can find that little button. What is that button? What is it you want? Why do you want that thing so badly? Why? What fantasies do you have and why do you have them? Where did these words first originate? The origins of these words that I speak and the words you hear are here for a reason. Words have meaning, words have power. We learn the words before learning why they exist. To better communicate anything we can think of. Why then do we choose to use these words, which connect us unlike any other thing on this planet, to be divisive, to be hateful, to put others down? Why do we collectively choose to do that? Why do we all decide this is a normal way of being? The ego doesn't allow you to give up on your argument, to say you are wrong. We are here in 2023. We don't have to continue acting like we did in 2016 or 2020. We can be better than that collectively. The temperature, in many respects, doesn't have to continue to rise. We can change our behavior. Yes, we can. This is about self expression. Life teaches us harsh lessons. It's up to us to spread and share what we have learned. It's hard to speak from an urn. Find your spark, let it burn. Embrace the vulnerable, and let's go further together. Life doesn't have rhyme or reason, just need to eat and keep breathing. Need for more, become a heathen. Life is beautiful, brings smiles and cries for reasons we don't know why. Wonder what made the first person cry. Life is growth. Every day we grow, expand. One day we will decline down the vine. Like red wine, life gets better with time. Live with hate, age like milk. Live each day happier than the last. Learn from the past. Forgive problems that already passed. Paralyzed by an octopus, frozen, drowning with water gurgling in my throat, seagulls pecking at my tonsils, tentacles clasped around my neck. My will fell under a whale, nostrils clammy with a fishy smell, lips sealed shut. Two polar bears unaware of each other, one floating out to sea, me, a shark's fin. Nay, worry, I am too thin. Hasten this moment. Shredded teeth are welcomed. Will I remember myself if I drown? I see penguins swimming around. A fist underwater doesn't pound into the infinite black void. I am found. We are universally bound by math and music. That's it. Keep it simplistic. Not all vibe to the same beat, but they understand it. Respect it. Give them quantifiable space for their own accountability and go to the beat of their own drum. Finite fun. No countable harm done. I'm leaving on a trip to Atlanta today. So if this is my last episode ever, and one of those times that will be true, so I want to say it now, because if not now, when? But I just want to say before I go, one last thing. And if it's the last thing I ever say, I want it to be this. Appreciate you listening. Be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and share. It's a free way to pay it forward. Can always go further at Bleace.com and sign up to our free newsletter. Let's go further together, one step at a time.